The sharper the knife, the easier it is to blunt it. This is chapter 9 in the Tao Te Ching. And if you're still listening to this video, it's because I use the copywriting best practice, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be sharpening your e-commerce, email marketing, copywriting. So if this is the first time you've ever seen me or you never heard about me, so in the last over 8 years, why should you listen to me, right? Over 8 years, I helped over 200 e-commerce brands, which includes two Fortune 500 companies, primarily with email marketing. So I don't do ads. I don't do, as in like meta ads, like Pinterest, TikTok, nothing like that. I just write and send emails and my designer designs them, but that's going to be maybe another video. So let's get started with everything in here. So by the way, fun fact, I created this presentation in no time with this app. It's called Gamma. Super good. I'm not affiliated with them. Maybe I should be. I don't think I need to explain too much about the benefits of e-commerce, like good copy in e-commerce. So let's go into some of the more advanced things, because you guys already know a lot about copywriting, right? So let's go into, and the advanced stuff always starts with the macro level mindset, all of this stuff. So Robert Cialdini wrote this book, Influence. If you haven't read it yet, you probably heard about it. You probably read it. But just as a, because I read it too, and I'm like, how many principles were there? 7, 8, or 9? So there were 8. Okay. So 8 principles of influence. And we're going to go through all of them. Just in case you never heard of this. And then we're going to be talking about Gary Halbert as well, specific examples, and what I think is a good email in e-commerce. So yeah, let's do it. So first principle of influence is reciprocity. So giving something up front, very much like this video as well, where I try to give you value in exchange for, hopefully, if you have a store that makes over 50K, maybe you can message me and maybe we can do your emails. But if not, no problem. People feel obliged to return favors and kindness. So yeah, it's just, if you do something up front, it's kind of like I wouldn't say deal with the devil, but something along those lines. We've got commitment and consistency. So this is a desire to act consistently with past actions or beliefs, which is why it's really important, for example, in one-on-one conversations with people, if you have that, to, if they say yes, then they want to act consistently. So for example, in e-commerce copywriting, that could be maybe abandoned cart flow, like you mentioned that they were interested in this product or they added it to their cart. By the way, an additional complexity in e-commerce copywriting is we know exactly what they've done, but people have this privacy issue right now. Obviously, it's very topical in 2025. They don't want you to know what they've done, even though you sometimes need to pretend you don't know exactly what they've done, because we could create flows with like, hey, you purchased this product 25 days ago, and usually you purchase every 20 days. So why didn't you purchase this time? Like, because we could genuinely send stuff like that, especially with Klaviyo's predictive analytics, which, by the way, if you don't know much about it, there's a video I posted on YouTube. It's called, I think, Advanced Techniques in Email Marketing. So make sure you check that if you're interested. So we've got, yeah, like for example, Winback, right? Like they once bought something and then they disappeared. So why? Like, people want to act consistently. Maybe you can tweak your copy in that way. And by the way, just an additional point to all of this is I have seen better results with brands where you can have a personality. So for example, I worked with 2 Fortune 500 companies. One of them is a secret. The other one was Shaw Inc., which is under the umbrella of Berkshire Hathaway. Anyway, they're like this manufacturing company, and for them, there's a very limited amount of personality we can add to the emails, right? It's like a very corporate thing. But if you're like a new store, let's say, in my opinion, this is your advantage, because the more stuff like comedy you can add, or personality, like extreme confidence, which can also be comedy, but also coming into another point, which is authority, that can be a really great advantage for you to maybe catch up or even surpass your competitors, because people want to buy stuff from people they feel affiliated to, or familiarity breeds contempt. If they feel like they know you, or you are one of them, like if you speak the language of your customer, for example, very simple example with copywriting, and we're going to touch on this later. In UK brands, like people in the UK have this very specific way of talking. I'm sure you noticed that is like UK slang. By the way, it's also like within the UK, it's like very different types of stuff happening in different cities. So for example, in Liverpool, people love to use the word boss, for example. Um, or obviously like mate, stuff like that, also in Australia. And if you send only to the UK, so that's kind of like a limitation, right? Because then, you don't have, let's say, to market to the US for whatever reason, maybe. But the advantage is, everyone on your list is in the UK, which means you can speak in that language, right? Or like if you only sell, I don't know, menopause products to women, then you can use only, that type of like more feminine copy, right? So that's just a little bit going off track, but I thought it would be good to mention. Social proof. Individuals follow actions of others, especially similar peers. Classic influence principle. If you've seen, it's also the Jones effect. Like if you've seen the Joneses, they bought this product and they were happy with it, 5-star reviews. Hey, at first I wasn't sure about this supplement, but then after using it for 30 days, now I have more energy, for example. Um, by the way, with supplements, you need to be careful with copywriting in different countries. So there's all of this law stuff and legal stuff that goes into it. And this is not legal advice. All right. Authority. Trust and follow credible, knowledgeable experts. So like, for example, when I mentioned I work with 2 Fortune 500 companies, I did that to add points in authority. And by the way, when it comes to email copywriting, one thing that I like to do is, for example, have 8 emails in an abandoned cart flow, and each of the emails, maybe even 10, by the way, because also, just as a side note, email marketing, a lot of it is just kind of like a reminders that you exist, and you're like, oh yeah, I wanted to buy that thing. This is an email. It's a disruptive marketing tool. It's not, people don't wake up to hope to open your emails, sadly. So you gotta be attention grabbing, which is why I started with the Tao Te Ching quote, because it's so like out of pocket, right? So maybe it didn't work. I don't know. Authority, like if you mentioned that you were featured on Forbes or some kind of, like, for example, one of my clients, they were featured on, I think, Business Insider, because it was like a meal prep brand, and they worked, or like, I mean, they sent something to Steven Spielberg, the Indiana Jones guy. So yeah, they got famous because of that. So that's authority. You were featured in some kind of like famous article. That's great. Liking. People say yes to those they find attractive or relatable. So this is also called honeypotting. So for example, this is, I don't know, is it just the truth? Like, for example, when I create emails for some clients, sometimes, unless it's like a very masculine brand, like let's say, I don't know, like t-shirts for gym guys, or I don't know, some kind of like testosterone supplement, whatever, I have seen emails perform better if it's sent from a female customer support manager, let's say, or customer success manager, and we had a nice little image where she looks great, and then handwritten signature. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just how things work. So people say yes to those they find attractive or relatable, or it's just the how things work. Scarcity. Limited availability creates urgency and higher value. By the way, I would even separate scarcity with urgency. The two kind of fall under the same umbrella. But sometimes one thing that we test in e-commerce email copywriting is, let's do this email with scarcity. So scarcity means we have 2 left. And urgency means you have 24 hours left, or this code will expire, for example, or we are sending the first few, or one that I really love, because you can send this and because, for example, I don't like to send, we have 3 left, because everyone will receive it. And it's just like, you want to be consistent, you want to be professional. And I just don't like it when, for example, like, I receive so many emails from brands that say like, oh, this discount would expire in 10 hours, but then it doesn't expire in 10 hours. And I just want the brand to stay consistent. And it's just, if someone notices it, it kind of like, you lose a little bit of trust, and it's just not that professional. It's a little bit like being late. It's like, why, like, just be on time. So one that I really love in e-commerce email copywriting is we are so this is available for the first 50 people that click on this email. Like, we're going to add the first 50 people to the early bird list for Black Friday, for example, because you don't, like, they cannot know who's the first 50, right? But that's also a thing in scarcity. So unity, shared identity strengthens influence among group members. So this is a little bit similar to liking, and also very similar to the site engine that I mentioned on commitment and consistency. Like, if you use that, like, let's say, for example, if you know that your audience follows Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's like they like him, then if you use the word hustle or all of these like catchphrases that he has, then that's going to strengthen your unity points. And what I like to think in all of these is, like, I want to gain as many points as possible. And one sentence that I didn't finish 5 minutes ago was about the abandoned cart flow with maybe 10 emails. By the way, you don't have to start with 10 emails, but I made an abandoned cart video too, by the way, on YouTube. The point I want you to make is, I like to make each email have one of these things. I would not recommend creating an email that has all of these things, because that kind of lowers the strength in all of these. Like, let's do one email with just social proof. So maybe you can do two. Like, let's say if you do liking and you do unity, like liking you can kind of add to all emails. Social proof you can add to some. I wouldn't add it to all of them, because then it kind of like, you become predictable. And also, like, shorter emails work better, by the way. So add like one thing in each of the email, and that will work better. Just in my experience, whenever we tested longer versus shorter emails outperform longer emails 70% or more often. And simple scales, fancy fills. Email marketing is a great example of simplicity, because many people think the prettier the email, the more it will convert, which is kind of like they have like an inverse correlation, if anything. Maybe in the long run, like maybe if you sell luxury jewelry, yeah, you can have some nice emails. Okay, but like supplements, for example, there's really not much need for you to have almost any image in your emails. Like maybe a logo, it's okay. Contrast. Comparing options influences decisions by highlighting differences. So this is something great that a lot of software tools do. For example, like Klaviyo always does like Klaviyo versus MailChimp, and then they show the different options. I did this one video. I may have posted it. If you're watching this on YouTube, it was my previous video, in-house versus freelancer versus agency. This was the contrast type of the influence stuff, right? So I compared the different options, and who would have thought I was pushing you more in the direction of agency, but pick the right agency, which is mine, which I do believe, but it's kind of like up to you. Anyway, it's a video I made. You can check it. Contrast. So that was one of the points. And then we've got Gary Halbert. So if you never heard of this guy, make sure you Google it. Amazing copywriting, very short sentences, one sentence per paragraph. Great. Sabri Subi is another like modern contemporary marketer example, like this Australian guy. Really good copy, one sentence per paragraph. I'm such a big believer in that. Like, even having sentences that don't really make sense. So for example, we could break even this presentation up. So proven persuasion, full stop, by the way, lowercase p. Gary Halbert's sales letters demonstrate powerful, full stop, direct copy techniques. So it's kind of like, you're not supposed to structure sentences this way, but it's just so punchy. It's so unique. It's so short. The sentences are so short that you cannot help but read them. And one key concept that I've noticed in e-commerce email copywriting is the purpose of this sentence. It's not to get you to click. It's not to get you to buy anything. It's only to make you read this sentence. Okay. So, and then the purpose of this sentence is to make you read this one. So every action's sole objective is to get you to the next step. So the email, for example, I don't like to add prices in emails, because that's kind of the job of the landing page, or is the job of your product pages. So, and it's also a little bit of extra. So I so many times I have, and so many people have, just clicked on an email because I want to find out how much this costs, maybe they don't even want to buy anything, but then maybe they go to the product page and like, oh yeah, maybe I should buy it. So they click on the product page out of curiosity. So that's something great. Here's a couple examples that I want you to share. So one of them, this is my client, and this is the genuine email that we sent for them. It's, as you can see, 7 sentences, including one link in here, which is it's kind of its own sentence, which is 7 lines. There's nothing that fits into like 2 lines as a, one. Every paragraph is maximum 1 line. And maybe we could have made the sentences even shorter, but this is what works because there's no distractions. People cannot click anywhere else. They can only click here. Even if they don't want to click here, it's so clear. It's so clear what I want them to do that it's just going to have higher click rates. And we've tested it and it works. By the way, if you don't believe me, test it. And by the way, if you test it and you have statistically significant data and you show me that for you, the prettier emails worked better, very happy to be proven wrong. And show me your niche and show me what was the difference. And let's talk. I'm very open to be proven wrong. Very numbers oriented me. This is a UK slang, by the way. Beard brand. This is an 8-figure beard oil type brand. And I went to the Klaviyo conference like 6 years ago in Boston. Quick authority checkpoint here. And this was the final presentation on the Klaviyo conference. And this is the CEO of Beer Brand was the guy who was doing the presentation. So Klaviyo really likes them. This screenshot is actually from Klaviyo's, I don't know, one of the explainer documents. And this is the actual abandoned cart email that this brand was sending. And it's not long, right? But it converts really well. There are 2 really clear call to action buttons. By the way, the more call to action buttons you have, the better. And also, it's best to have call to action buttons that say the same thing. So like it's the same text on both of them. People like variety, but variety kills results many times. So have the call to action button with like it's so clear what they want me to do. Like has it ever happened to you that you open an email and you're like, okay, I can click somewhere, but like where do you guys want me to click? Because there's so many things going on, like follow us on Facebook, like click here, I don't know, check in on Instagram and click here to return to your car. All of these different things, which is just distractions, it's just noise. What do you want me to do? But in here, it's so clear what they want me to do. So, okay, I'll click there. People are very persuadable. People, they're just kind of drifting, many people. So, yeah. And those were honestly the main points that I wanted to cover in this presentation. This is a couple of like personal stuff that I collected over the years of like attention grabbing hook ideas. So like a hook is something that grabs people's attention. So for example, my Lao Tzu, Dao De Jing stuff was a hook. And if it worked, great. Ever heard of X? Yeah, me neither. So, so it's kind of like, it's a bit of like comedic approach and it's like not what you expect, right? Ever heard of X? It's the new, brand new, blah, 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 blah. That's what you expect. But it's like, yeah. And then next sentence, me neither. I was thick and tired of X is kind of like, once again, like comedic thing. It's just something I find funny. Hot take. I don't know, for example, male testosterone supplements are a myth. And then you do like a breakdown and you share your product at the bottom. Or for example, black color is out, white color is in, which is like, let's say your new white collection for your new clothing brand. This is the skincare hack no one wants you to know. So, it's kind of like creates intrigue and exclusivity. Whoops. So 3 reasons why this balm is my favorite moisturizer. It's just, yeah, people love numbered lists. So, yeah. And honestly, like, yeah, this is the kind of like the rest of the presentation, which I didn't have any time to cover, but I wanted to make this more interactive. And actually, I like shorter slides, but this is what Gamma created for me. So if you got this far in the video, thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe if you watched on YouTube or you listened on the podcasts. And you can write me a comment and ask me any question you might have about email marketing if this was in a Facebook group, or else You can also comment on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere. Love you. Ciao.